Throwing the word here, and I'd like to cover a topic in the Bible. But before I get into that, I'd like you to just do one thing for me. When I say the topic, I'd like you to think about just the first few verses that you know about that topic and just meditate on them for a second. The topic is faith. So just take a moment to think of the first verse or two that really comes to your mind. And the first verse or two that come to my mind is located in First Peter. First Peter chapter 1, verse 4 and 5. It says, "To an inheritance incorruptible, undefiled, and that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you." And I like that a lot, just biblically, but I also like that in the context of faith, because if you really think about it, talking about our inheritance, our reward that is in heaven. It's kind of, in a way, described like a savings account, right? So we build up our savings, right? We try to put whatever's left over into the savings account. Okay, I didn't buy, a cookie at the gas station, so I could put that $2 in the savings, or whatever. And we're always trying to build that up. But our inheritance, our reward in heaven is kind of described almost like that. It's not said word for word like that, but it's to the idea that what I do here affects what is there. If I give away everything, if I do this, if I do that, it builds up my reward in heaven. And what I don't do here also could affect what I don't get there, type of a thing. And it's not really all about getting something, but it's in the context of really living by faith. Because if you really, truly are living by faith, then you're not going to want to necessarily store up for here, because you believe that there's an inheritance in heaven reserved, waiting for you. Think of that, like, idea of reserved. Like, you go to work. This will probably never happen in my lifetime, but some people have a little parking spot with a sign that says reserved for such and such. And that person gets to park in that spot. If somebody else parks in it, it gets towed, right? And so that idea of it being reserved is no one else there could touch it. No one else there could take from it, right? And it's our duty to add to that by faith, right? And so I like this a lot, because so many people are living for the things of this world, for the things of this life. But us who really live by faith, shouldn't we be living for the eternal life? Shouldn't we be putting our stock, into the inheritance that we get in heaven? And that's just the verses that I think of when it comes to faith. Is, are we really truly living like there is an inheritance, like there is a reward reserved in heaven for you? And that's a challenge that I get presented with every day of my life, because where I work, I handle very wealthy people, and you might not have that type of job, you might have that type of job, uh, and we all kind of work in different situations, but there is a way in your work or in your environment to really live like you have this reward. You know what I mean? And so this is a challenge that I present to you, is at your job, because us guys, we spend most of the day there. We get up first thing in the morning, and where do we head? There. Where are we when we stay out late, type of a thing, is probably there for some of us. And so that's just the biggest thing, is those people, we really have to lead them, by example. Is when they watch us, because believe me, they are. We have to show them that I got something better. I don't need that extra hour of work to add to the paycheck. And we shouldn't be living like, man, I just need another dollar, I need another hour of work, man, I just need to save up for this boat or for this car. In line with talking about trying to not strive for buying a car or boat or anything like that. Someone once said to preach the gospel and to use words if necessary. To me, that's pretty funny thought to think of, but seriously, that's how it should be. Is we should preach the gospel just by the way that we live. You know, the Bible tells us to do all things as if we were doing it unto the Lord. You know, and that really puts into perspective everything else. And that alone even takes a good amount of faith to really do. Like, I'm going to eat to the glory of God. I'm going to eat, you know, with the Lord on my mind. I'm going to spend my money with the Lord on my mind. I'm going to do all these things as unto the Lord, like to be a good steward of a, you know, dirty floor and to sweep it up as unto the Lord. Things like that. That is really where our faith is going to shine through, because if we're saying, look, man, I'm doing this as if I'm doing it to God, you know, and when you get that moment to share something like that, you know, when you're living it out, it'll be a lot easier to speak about it versus trying to live one way, not so much sinful, but not so much faithful, and then trying to speak about it. That is where kind of the chain gets kinked a little bit. And that's just a serious point in our life. And I think that really shows the maturity in someone's life. And I'm not saying that you're not mature or something. If, you know, if you're not to that point or anything like that, this isn't a holier than thou type of thing. But it's more of an encouragement. I'd, you know, really like to see you guys, you know, grow in faith, and I'd really like to just hear of those stories. You know, I think of, you know, when I'm reading the Bible and Paul says, you know, we've heard of your faith and your love for the saints, and we don't cease to pray for you. And I just love that. It's like I love hearing of stories of other people getting to share the word or living it out, or coming back with a story, and man, saying, look what God did here. Look, you know, I never thought I'd be able to share the gospel with that person. I thought that person never was watching me. And I just love those types of stories, but we only get there by faith. And in talking about maturity, faith is really like a mustard seed. It's like, you know, a seed that falls onto the ground and it sprouts up and it grows. And so that's really what has to take place. Is, are the weeds of the world or the weeds of the flesh growing up? Are they getting watered and nutrients? Or is that one little seed of faith getting nurtured and watered? That's the biggest thing, is where are we putting the nutrients? Where are we giving the most light to? You know, in our thoughts and our mindsets, and just living it out. You know, are we constantly devoting it to that one single plant that's growing in the plant of faith? And that's the biggest thing, is I just want to use this as a encouragement to, you know, encourage you to just keep nurturing that faith, to keep just adding to that faith, to keep growing in it, and to keep walking it out. Remember, preach the gospel and use words if necessary, and that is by just walking in faith. You know, we can't see that inheritance. We can't see, you know, what really God is doing in the day-to-day, and that honestly is my biggest challenge, is not being able to see what God is doing in the day-to-day. You know, okay, it's been 15 days and this hasn't happened, and I've been doing this and I'm not seeing any results, so to say. Just as much as we could sit here and talk about it, which I do love to discuss it and hear comments and stories about it, at the end of the day, we do have to get up and we do have to live out our faith. So I just pray that this video is an encouragement for you to get up and live your faith out. And I just pray that whatever season of life you're in, whatever area you're struggling with, if it is living out your faith, I just pray that God blesses you with the strength and the encouragement and the courage to really live out our faith. And so that's the thing is, to live it out is we have to grow it up. And we have to give that faith strength. If we're feeding everything else in our life but not our faith, it's not going to be strong, and it's not going to hold up. So I just pray that you water it with the word and that you can grow in the word. Thanks for watching.